This is section 4. The gods perform a miracle and tell the couple to climb a mountain. Meanwhile, they see the mixing bowl, which had been drained so many times, refilled of its own accord, and the wine increasing by itself. Astonished by the strangeness, they fear, with hands facing upwards, both Baucis and timid Philemon begin to form prayers, and beg pardon for the feast and lack of preparations. There was just one goose, guardian of the very small house, which the owners were preparing to kill for the gods their guests. The goose, swift with its wings, wore them out as they were slow with age, and eluded them for a long time, and finally seemed to have fled for refuge to the gods themselves. The gods forbade it to be killed, and said, "We are gods, and the irreligious neighbourhood will pay the penalty it deserves. It will be granted to you to be exempt from the destruction. Just leave your home, and accompany our steps, and go together with us to the steep parts of the mountain." Line 36 then shows us the generosity of the gods. Ovid starts with Totien's Housdom, so often drained, which is emphatic vocabulary. It highlights how freely the gods have been drinking, and the contrast between Housdom emptied and Repleri refilled creates a thematic pairing. It brings out the miracle as the bowl keeps refilling. And the word cratera, meaning this rustic mixing bowl, uses quite some humble imagery to match the setting of the story. In line 37, Ovid gives us a nice chiasmus, and look at the positioning of it at the ends of the first two lines. The object verb and then verb object, with the two verbs there, repleri and succrescere. The mirrored structure draws attention to the balance and the completeness of the miracle. The bowl is emptied, the wine replenishes. After that, the two phrases sponte sua and per seque, placed side by side, are a juxtaposition that doubles down on the idea that this is happening entirely by itself. There's also some heavy sibilants. Look at just how many S's there are on line 37. It gives a magical bubbling sound, as if we, the readers or the listeners, can hear the wine rising. And the pairing of vident and vina, with those two V's in alliteration, draws attention to what it is that they actually see, the wine. Line 38 shows us their reaction. We get the alliteration of T throughout this line, which highlights their shock and the novelty of the event. And the line is fully dactylic, with a light rushing rhythm that mimics their alarm and energy. At the end of that line, manibusque supinis is a conventional gesture of Roman prayer, right? Their palms are raised to the sky, they are acknowledging that something divine is happening right before their eyes. In line 39, we have a nice enclosing word order. Baucis and Philemon physically surround the praekes, the prayers, echoing how they come together to address the gods, right? Their unity and humility are reflected in the actual shape of the line. On line 40, we see their embarrassment, okay? Veniam and orant frame this line, which gives emphasis to their apology. So veniam there, orant. There's also the rhyme as well with dapibus and paratibus, which links the two things they feel shame about, the food and the lack of preparation. And the sound pattern makes the line feel careful and considered and slightly formal. In line 41 then, Ovid shifts to the one goose that they own. Unicus is placed right at the start in an emphatic position that makes their poverty clear, right? It's only one goose. And calling their cottage minimae villae, tiny villa, is some nice ironic diction, right? It sounds really grand, but really it just means they have very little. In line 42, Ovid carries that irony forward. He uses dis hospitibus, a juxtaposition of divine and domestic language, so to the guest gods. And the use of domini, masters, is again some ironic diction. Baucis and Philemon are barely managing here, yet they are called the lords of the house. Line 43 gives us a nice amount of comedy. We have some more balanced phrasing, right? Celer pena, tardas aitate. It sets up a nice, neat visual, right? The goose has wings, the old couple have age, and there's a nice juxtaposition there between the speed versus slowness, which makes the chase feel hopeless but also kind of light-hearted. Line 44 keeps the pace up, and we have diu and tandemque, so for a long time and finally next to each other, so in juxtaposition, which stretches out the chase and then snaps it shut immediately. Look as well at the position of ipsos right at the end, this emphatic pronoun, which shows how close the gods really are now. Line 45 is grand, right? Ovid uses some elevated diction, some lofty language that marks the divine intervention, and this is the moment when the gods make their presence and power fully known. Line 46 sets up the contrast. We have an enclosing word order, right? The punishment encircles the guilt, and the word meritas, deserved, is emphatically placed at the start, stressing that this is justice, not cruelty. Look as well, Vicinia, the neighbourhood, is trapped inside the line, or inside that enclosing word order, just as the village is about to be entrapped by the flood. Line 47 clarifies the reason, and impia is enjambed. It hangs off the line as an afterthought, but it hits hard. This is why the punishment comes. There's some assonance throughout this line, lots of I's. The sounds link the wickedness of the villagers to the innocence of Baucis and Philemon, while also creating a contrast between the two. And then on line 48, we get this direct command. The phrase modo vestra relinquite tecta, just leave your home, is simple and balanced, right? So adjective, verb, noun. And it's a direct instruction with no frills, just urgent clarity. Line 49 continues the guidance. Comitate gradus, follow our steps, continues the balanced phrasing, while our dua montes, to the steep parts of the mountain, is a Virgilian phrase, right? It uses a partitive genitive and emphasizes how far and high they must go to be safe. Then finally, to finish the section off in line 50, we get ite simul, just two words, an imperative and an adverb, and it's some dramatic brevity. Everything else falls away. The moment for talking is over. They must go.